I've only focused on improvement the whole time. There's never been an idea where, hey, I want to be a prominent voice in college football. I want to call the championship games. I want to call Wimbledon, U.S. Open finals. I mean, I'm so blessed to be able to do that. But it was a process and it was a journey to get there. And it was never about the end goal. It's about just getting better.
The process.
Winning Super Bowls was the result of a lot of great process.
This is The Process, a special series inside Y Option where we dive into what separates the elite, their habits, their mindset, and the principles that guide them when no one's watching. Welcome back, or welcome to Y Option. Today is The Process. We are diving into that. Rhett Lewis, myself, away we go. Every single time we have a guest here on this podcast platform, it is presented by our founding sponsor, 76, keeping you on the go, so you never miss a beat. Today, Rhett, this conversation fueled by 76 is pretty good.
Yeah, well, what I'm hoping here is that, you guys are going to leave with your tanks as full as you do at the pump at 76 by the end of this thing, as I think we are, right, Yogi? Because that, as broadcasters, to get an opportunity to learn preparation and the process of a week and the process of stacking weeks on weeks up until decades of being at the top of the business, I think is just so valuable. Obviously for us, I think it's really going to be valuable for our listeners and our viewers, and just to learn process from someone who has been at the very top of their craft is a very, very special opportunity today.
Yeah, I could not agree more. With that, before we get to him, it is week one for us too.
That's
How you feeling about the process here? We got the Trojans, we got Missouri State. What do you think? You ready to roll here in week one?
Well, I mean, obviously, ready or not, like, here we go. There's that part of it that I think always drives us, right? Because, where are you going to find yourself when, the pregame clocks hit zeros and now we're going and we're on. And I think the discipline, especially leading up to week one, when you feel like you have so much time, is a really important test of process, right? And how have you used that time to feel like you're the most prepared as possible going into that first game? So this is a really kind of anxious time, but exciting time as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So let's get to our guest. It is Chris Fowler. It is the man who has been on your screens for decades now. I can remember Rhett watching him as a kid. He was doing like a high school sports show at times on ESPN. And then over the course of his life within his craft, it's been such a joy to not only watch, but then as you and I know in our profession, you get to know these people. Like, they're not just figures on a TV screen. They're humans with a heartbeat and insight and thoughtfulness and a path and a process. And that's exactly what we're going to get today with our conversation with Chris Fowler. So from Y Option, today's guest presented by our founding partner, 76, is Chris Fowler. Welcome to The Process. Rhett, this is pretty cool, man. This is pretty cool what we got today. What do you think?
The voice of college football. I mean, I'm smitten thinking about, like, just the idea of getting a chance to talk to the master of the craft that you and I both seek to perfect and enjoy and love and are so passionate about. Man, this is a treat.
I love it. All right. Well, Chris Fowler, welcome to The Process, a podcast here within Y Option. Thank you for taking time.
My pleasure. Good to see you guys. I feel like a little naked here. I don't have a signed football or anything behind me. Later on, I'll run and get my Ralphie stuffed animal so I can at least have something alma mater related in front of me. But it's good to be with you guys. Football season is coming really quickly here, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. So this whole conversation is really based in your process and how you've navigated so many amazing things in your life. So we won't touch on all of them, but we'll try to get to a few of them. I want to start with an area where you really showed up for me. I met you back when I was in college over 20 years ago. And over the course of time, you'd always touch in and just, catch up here and there. But when the Pac-12 went, through their transition, if you will, you were one of the first people to call me, Chris. Call me, you checked in on me. How can I help you? I know you're going to have to find another gig. And that has always landed on me in a beautiful way, whether we're at the 50 at a Rose Bowl saying what's up before a game or a conversation right now. And it begs the question, where does that come from? Like, you've got a compassion and an empathy, high level of emotional intelligence, clearly, to do what you've been doing for so long. But where does that begin for you? Because it's netted out, I'd imagine, and throughout the course of your entire life.
Well, that's very kind. I appreciate that. I like hearing things about that. It isn't like I set out to start the day with, hey, who can I help today? Who's in a situation where I might be able to reach out to and make a difference? I'm not, I'm not sainted, believe me. I like you. I think you're talented. That's probably was the root of it, Yogi. I thought, you need to have a place to work, and we are all crushed by the Pac-12 dissolving. You more than most. But, at the time, my alma mater was in the Pac-12. I've always loved West Coast football. I hated to see you become, an innocent bystander and all of that. I wanted to help you land. But I've always enjoyed, if I feel it's appropriate, not in a heavy-handed way, because we can get into that. I don't believe in giving advice where you look at somebody and you say, you must do this. You have got to do this to succeed or you will fail. That's never been my style. I try to offer ideas and suggestions just based on being, on the planet for a long time and making a lot of mistakes. And then being around smart people and observing and learning from them. So it starts with awareness. I was aware of your situation. I know how good you are. You were very helpful to me too. We don't maybe are not quite as up on the second tier Western teams as the top tier. You were really helpful to me. I enjoyed our conversation about football. Clearly, you have a talent for this business. So it's awesome that you've landed well. But that's where it is. I mean, I've done it a little bit over the years with guys who transition from football into broadcasting because they have a lot of questions. And I try to help them avoid the obvious pitfalls that brand new analysts sometimes fall into, not their own fault. They don't get a lot of feedback. They don't get an instruction booklet. There's no playbook, right? You know this. You come off football, things are structured. You know your role, you know your job, you know what's expected of you. If you don't do it, you're given very direct feedback, right? Good or bad. You don't get that in this business. And so when guys come into it from the field or the court, whatever it is, they're kind of like lost. Like, I don't get any coaching. I want to learn. I want to improve. And so that is where I try to help them. And don't expect a lot. Be self-directed, but also I don't mind telling them how to seek it out. And the other thing is they come in sometimes very arrogant. Coach comes in and thinks, I know more football than everybody in this production truck combined. That's all I need. No, it's a whole new job. It's a whole new skill set, right? I mean, and if you don't approach it with humility, then you have a problem. I think life is a balance of humility and ego. You need the ego to sort of have the confidence and project that to people and go for what you want. But the humility to understand you don't know everything, far from it, right? And you also have to go back and grind. And even if you're successful, never forget what got you there. That's the process, right? That's what we're talking about here. That's what you learn from being around really great coaches and players.
Wow, that is a phenomenal piece of learning right there, of inspiration. And I think to be in the position you're in, Chris, one that so many of us, aspire to be, right? And then to be in a position to kind of be that sounding board, to give that kind of advice, is obviously a process of a career's long journey, right? So to think about where you're at now, and then obviously, everyone's humble beginnings, your humble beginnings, how would you describe the process of that journey? Not necessarily what led you to each stop, but your mental process and, mental fortitude to navigate that journey to get to the top of the mountain where you are.
Something tells me about what I'm about to say, you guys are going to understand because you get it. I never set out on the beginning of the path, which you could never expect to be linear and direct and smooth. You're in any business you get into, especially not this one. I never could have predicted I'd end up here, but I didn't set out to be here. I think when you have a goal and you're looking way down the road, that's fine. You can have a goal. You can have a dream. You can want to win an Olympic gold medal every time you take up a sport. But how do you get there? Not by focusing on the gold medal. It's just the steps in front of you. I've only focused on improvement the whole time. There's never been an idea where, hey, I want to be a prominent voice in college football. I want to call the championship games. I want to call Wimbledon, U.S. Open finals. I mean, I'm so blessed to be able to do that. But it was a process and it was a journey to get there. And it was never about the end goal. It's about just getting better. I got thrown into GameDay as an emergency fill-in in '89 when the host, Bob Carpenter's wife, gave birth and he raced to St. Louis. And I got a call on Friday, got thrown in there. No way was I ready for that. I mean, I hadn't done a lot of studio stuff live. I've done some sidelines, I've done some reports, but that's far from hosting a show. And by the way, GameDay at that time was like ultra simplistic. It was like
Right.
myself, Lee Corso, and that day Bino Cook, and we didn't have a lot of stuff going on. There was obviously no crowd. We were in the studio for the first few years I hosted it, but still, I wasn't ready for it. Corso helped get me ready. Bino Cook was on the other shoulder saying, "You got no chance. You're gonna, you're gonna shit your pants." That was his assessment of my readiness. But Corso was the coach, and he was like in freshman quarterback mode. I got to get this true freshman ready, and he was supportive, and he was confident in me. And then next year, he and I were on the set together. But it was never about, hey, we're going to make this thing an award-winning, widely watched part of the culture of the sport. Hell no, we were just trying to get better. We're just trying to, grow the show, brick by brick. And that was the great joy of hosting Game Day for 25 years is in life. You get very few chances to build things from scratch. I know lots of entrepreneurs. That kind of thing attracts me, right? You go out there and you hang out a shingle and you try to use your wits and your guts and get a little luck and try to build something. And in TV, it's really rare to have that chance. And we did with Game Day because it existed, but it wasn't widely watched. And then to have it grow into what it became, and now it's just is bigger than ever, was incredible. But it wasn't intentional at the start.
That's amazing. I love the phrase "move with intent, but go with the flow."
Yeah.
And if the intent was to get
Well, I
better,
believe in directions more than destinations. To be honest with you, you want to get like psycho. I don't talk about goals as much as I talk about just directions and the steps to get there. A lot of smart people would totally disagree with that. And I acknowledge when I try to give advice, listen, you can go on Instagram and you can find a lot of really accomplished, smart people who would tell you must have goals. I follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I hear what people like that say, and you have to find out what works for you. Have a goal, but just don't make it the focus. Make the day by day steps improvement. You guys both get that as players. That's what you want to win a championship, but you can't win it in August camp. You got to do the work to get ready for it, right?
So how did you navigate? Because I'd agree with that. And then I wonder, we see this all the times with teams. They win a Super Bowl, they win a national championship. It's hard to repeat again because there's that huge thing out that they want to go attack. When Game Day became massive, I remember being on set in like 2002 in Pittsburgh, and it was a big deal, let alone 15 years later, it was still a big deal. I remember seeing you at the Rose Bowl for the national title game. When it became big, was it harder to do that? And if so, how did you navigate like the daily processes of maybe not feeling yourself or making sure you stayed connected to the steps in the direction you're headed in?
That's a good question. I think it can be. Human nature says you have some success and you've reached your goal, so you throttle back, which is one reason why I don't believe in having concrete goals. Because what happens when you get there? Saban is great on this topic, as are some other great coaches. If you have a mindset that it's always about improvement, it's always about growth, you can always do some aspect of this better or every aspect of it better, then I think you don't worry about, hey, we reached this point that I never thought we'd reach, so I'm good. Like, that never entered into my mind. I think you have to hold yourself to your own standard. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you have a high standard for yourself and you strain like hell to meet it and you're disappointed when you don't, you learn to not beat yourself up too much about that. That's another topic, but I used to be a perfectionist, and that is not a path to happiness. You learn how to play off the mistakes and grow from those, but keep your eye on it and watch yourself. Hey, only we know if we throttle back 5%, like on our preparation, or didn't quite dot every I, and it was hard for me to live with that if that resulted in a less than great show. So if your mind is on improvement and the day-to-day, and you have to love the process, right? That's what we're talking about. If you like the idea of being a television announcer, which a lot of people do, I talk to them every day. I want to do it. I love that. I love sports. I like the idea of being a rock star. I have zero musical talent. Little problem. Not going to happen. But so I didn't pursue it. I have a lot of friends who do that, and they have maybe the greatest job in the world. People say that about us. I think, I have a really pretty good job if they're a rock star. You just have to check yourself, and you have to understand that and by the way, by doing that, by meeting your own standard and making that the focus, it really helps you tune out the external static. that is a part of what we do and a part of a lot of people's jobs, and trying to resist the idea that other people's opinions are going to shape what you do, what you think about your job, how you approach it, how you view yourself. You do this long enough, you get pretty bulletproof to that. You have to care what your customer thinks. Obviously, sure. We do it for them. Their feedback is important. But I'm not going to read some comment online about somebody who didn't like me, and I got to rethink what I'm doing. That rocks me. I'm rattled by that. No, you can't do anything in sports in any capacity and get worried about stuff like that.
Well, look, Chris, I think along those same lines, I think part of the reason Yogi and I love what we do now as broadcasters of games, and probably same goes for you here, is, yeah, sure, we love the idea of catching the game-winning touchdown pass. We love the idea of making the game-winning call. But we've also fallen in love with the Monday through Friday piece of talking to coaches, watching the tape, going over, pronunciations, like that whole part of the preparation process. I really love, and I'll get to more of your social media reflections here in a little bit. But I remember, I want to say it was the night before a national championship game call. You're sitting in your hotel room and you're telling millions of us that follow you and get to, see you that you're like, this is when I go over the kickers. This is how I go over the specials, kickers and punters. I think it was the night before. I thought that was like just this little piece of your preparation process. And that was so cool. But I imagine that has been the work of, 20, 30 years of refining. Like, are you set in your process of preparation now, or are you constantly evolving with it?
I worry about the specialists because Kirk is awesome, but he's not a special teams guy. So somebody has to be up on the kickers and the returners and the long snappers and the gunners, all of that kind of stuff is a focus. Fortunately, the guy who's next to me in the booth, my spotter, Mike Black, is a former kicker at Boise State in the Arena League. So he makes sure that I'm focused on these kickers, because when it comes down to an end-of-game situation, you better everything about that dude, and that helps you paint the picture. I'm always trying to tweak my process and improve the preparation, mostly now by being more efficient. You guys know we are inundated with information, surrounded by sources of data, and you could smother every single game we do with that. It'd be a mistake. But I don't feel you can be over-prepared. I just think you can overuse your preparation. So I look at all kinds of things. You're right, you do have to follow other people's social media. These players are not so much coaches, but because they're using it as a device, players are often revealing parts of their soul on their feeds because that's where they express themselves. So you have to be up on that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing we'll monitor as the game gets closer, because that's when they're most likely to say something that you could possibly use. But, there's only so many hours. For me, my process is I cannot spend every minute of Thursday, Friday, and all day Saturday until we kick at night with my face on my chart and trying to memorize a story or data and then be in the right place when it kicks at 7:30 Eastern. That just doesn't work for me. I've tried it. What I need to do is make sure that, and you guys know this, you can have a great week of practice at anything. If your mind isn't right at kickoff, nobody cares how well you practiced. Did you get yourself ready to go when the lights come on? So one way for me to do that, I've learned, is to back off a little bit, get a workout in the morning, go for a walk, chill on the bus, not looking at 12 games on TV, and just get focused mentally so you can have what I call relaxed intensity. I think you need both things. You better be relaxed. If you're too uptight, that doesn't work. People say, do you get butterflies? I don't think of it as nervousness, it's excitement. Sometimes you'll trick yourself. I may be a little undercooked in some areas of this game, so you're just on alert, right? You just have a little bit of juice so that you're never too cocky that you got this covered when you go in there. You want a little juice, but relaxed intensity for me is really the balance you try to strike. And then, you want to have the fastball every game. We all do. Is that possible? Not easy, right? Some days you're not gonna have the 98 mile per hour with great control at all four pitches, and you learn over time how to make up for that if you can. Hopefully, it's not a 70 mile per hour fastball. Then we got serious problems in the booth. But if you can achieve some consistency through the process, through knowing yourself and holding yourself to a standard, and knowing that if you slack, you're going to disappoint yourself. But also, when you screw up in the moment, which we do, move on. I try to have a game where I never misidentify a player. Ideally,
Right.
we know how hard that is with the rosters in college football. I do some NFL games too. It's much easier, frankly, much easier to call an NFL game than college. You got 11 guys, 12 guys touching the ball maybe on an average college game, and it's about 5 in the NFL, right? So it's much harder to get everything perfect. Still try. If you don't, I'm able to move on better than I used to be able to.
Right.
Yeah, double numbers don't necessarily help us
No.
up in the booth all the time.
No.
Sometimes when there's 3 of them that are the same exact number.
Go here, go there, go anywhere with 76.
I want to talk about the booth for a second. It's been a joy to watch you and Kirk Herbstreit work together. Kirk was a guy I've modeled my career after. I feel like it's been low ego and really about the game ever since I met him when I was at Pitt back in the day. I'm curious about your relationship and how it works up there, because I think in some games you could turn on the TV and you could be like, they are in 2 separate rooms right now calling a game. And some you could be like, they love each other.
That's great.
I got to work with Ted Robinson, who I know from
Oh,
the
yeah.
tennis days. Guy Haberman and Rhett we're on a crew now, calling games every week, and we are family. Like everything is unearthed around your life. I'm curious, what has allowed you and Kirk to become the duo that you've become in the booth and over the course of time in major college football?
Reps. It's our 30th year together. This is our 30th college football season together.
Wow.
Think about that. Not most of it on game day, the last, I guess, dozen years now in the booth on ABC. We did some Thursday stuff together. We've done many other shows together, obviously. So knowing each other really well, how our brains are wired helps. You picked a great role model, by the way. Kirk is a total pro. He is a guy who's completely self-made. As you know, he didn't come into broadcasting with this huge football resume. He just worked and scraped and prepared and used his obvious talents to get where he is and be the standard, I think, at that position. We don't spend a lot of time in the same city, much less the same room, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So the trick is how to pull that off. Kirk has a very busy schedule. He's doing Thursday Amazon NFL games with Al Michaels. He was watching his son Chase's high school football games this past season. Chase is now at Michigan and was a high school senior in Ohio. So Kirk's schedule, he's talked about it. This is no secret. You go to the Amazon game, fly out, go to Chase's games on Friday night. Maybe a Friday morning, if game day is there, he zips through, tries to get to our meetings, but then flies to Cincy, flew back, and then does the 3-hour pregame show that's super demanding. It requires you to decompress a little bit when game day's over. And then we hang out in the bus, and the clock is ticking till kickoff. So it's crazy to talk about, and it's not ideal. I'm going to be honest, it's not ideal, but we are able to pull it off where we have almost no conversation about, hey, when Texas has the football, here's what we're looking for. And then, when Georgia gets it, we don't sit and have those conversations. And we don't sit, unfortunately, very often in the same room for coaches' meetings and listen to somebody or talk to players and come out and go, that was interesting. I want to bring that. I'm going to set you up on this. Their zone coverage is going to be a key thing, Kirk. So I'm going to go to you. We never just say that stuff. And it works for both of us. I think that, I don't want to over-rehearse it. I don't want to know exactly what he's going to say. He doesn't have time to really get inside my head and figure out what the themes are. We know what the basic themes are just because we've been around a long time. In tennis, John McEnroe never wants me to talk about anything I'm going to say to him, like in the Open. Wimbledon final, we're in the bunker, Patrick McEnroe's there. John doesn't want to know anything about what I'm going to say. So, as a result, you have some very interesting Opens where... maybe you're weaving around, but you get to the checkered flag, but you don't take maybe that. But that's John's way. That's the genius and the brilliance of him. Kirk's not the same kind of analyst, but I think it's just better when you don't pulverize and rehearse the Opens and what you're going to say in every given situation. You have to trust your reactions in the moment. You guys know that. That's really what it is. That's what an analyst has to do. You studied your tape. A lot of it, you studied your notes, you made your calls, but it's what you're seeing on the field and what you're reacting to. That's more true in tennis than football.
Yeah.
You can't have your notes and then look at the paper, and you got to look out what's going on the court. Like, what's going on the field, not what you read on Tuesday. That's the mistake I think a lot of people make, is like, your preparation is not the broadcast. We are just documenting what's going on the field. Now, it helps you. You got to be ready for stuff, react to it. Here's the why for that play call. Here's why this guy did this in that moment. That's from preparation, but I think you can't forget that we're reacting to stuff that you could never predict. I don't sit there and go, geez, what am I going to say? If Cade Klubnik throws 3 picks and Clemson flames out in their home field when people are hyping them as a very serious CFP champion, and they got Georgia or LSU coming in on opening night and they bomb. I mean, it occurs, if it develops, you better be ready for the moment. As you guys know, you have to frame that. But I don't think, what are all the possibilities and what am I going to say in each one of them? At this point, if you don't trust your instincts, you haven't been doing your homework for 30 years, you know?
Well, look, I've got one that's maybe a little bit difficult, but don't worry, it's not who has the real Death Valley. Okay, I won't get into that one for you. But this one, I know you have kind of prided yourself on finding purpose and living a life that is fulfilled. How does professional success and being at the top of that mountain fit into your puzzle of fulfillment?
The work I put in and the improvements that I've made give me a great source of pride. The external stuff, less so. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant. I just don't think what we do is about some rankings or polls of people. In my profession, I'm not at all competitive with Gus Johnson or anybody else that does this job. You know, necessarily. I don't view it that way. I don't think we're in competition with each other. Some guys do. Analysts do that more because they're coming from a sports background. They're very competitive. They want to be the best. They want to be seen as the best and recognized as the best. It's never been about trophies. Our production of SEC and ABC won an Emmy as the best live production. And college football hadn't won that award in 45 years. It's kind of insane. It's kind of a slap at the sport because a lot of networks have done or several networks anyway, have done really good jobs presenting college football. So I take pride in that because I know what it means to everybody I work with. It's a pat on the back. It's a salute from their peers. And that's important. But I just don't, I think that for me, the pride comes from meeting my own standard. There are other things in life, I think that's what you're getting at. I mean, I don't, as much as I love my job, I don't feel that it is my identity. I advise everybody to have an identity that is separate from what they make money doing. So many people get caught up in that they can't step out. They can't imagine a life without it. So sometimes when it's taken away from you, you know, your network might lose the rights. Somebody else might come along that your bosses feel is more suited for your job and it's taken away from you and you're crushed. I don't ever want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that stays too long because I cannot imagine life after the booth, because I certainly can. And I love it. I love my time off out here in the Colorado mountains. You know, I can go for a hike or a trail run. I'm not thinking about LSU versus Clemson or anything else other than being very present in the moment. And if we work hard enough at our workouts and our hikes and our trail runs or whatever you guys do for recreation, then your heart and your lungs and your legs are working hard enough that you can't focus on anything else anyway, right? That's how I view it. So I have lots of outlets, lots of things that really, you know, give me joy. We don't have a family, so it's not about that for me. Jennifer and I don't have kids. So, I mean, for a lot of people, that's a great focus to have. Our kids would have been out of college by now, so we've been empty nesters like most of our friends. But no, there's plenty in life that gives me joy beyond my job. And that's a great comfort to me because that stuff they can't take away from me. So I value my health, my fitness, my longevity, because that's what I don't want to lose. That would be a lot harder for me to lose than my job. It could be health, mobility, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you inspire many people from many different parts of life with how you share on your social media channels. I want to end with this because here we are in week 1. You've got the game that you've referenced. It's going to be a blast to watch. But in college football, and I believe it's all about the game, it's all about the ball. This week, it's also about a guy you've worked with.
Yeah.
Lee Corso. It is going to be a celebration of his influence on this game that will last so long. But you lived it with him for a long time. I know he's dear to you. If you can share here before we let you go, how you're going to carry and how you do carry on some of the principles into your process, into your life that you learned from Coach Corso.
I learned so much from him. I think that people focus on the laughs, the Corso, the showman, and the board entertainer, which he certainly is. I think to me, he's always a coach. He's first and foremost a coach, and he did a better job at that than people realize. Programs that were dead on a slab, he brought to life at Louisville and Indiana. Along the way, made a difference in a whole bunch of guys' lives. His players love him. He left a piece of him in their hearts when he coach them. And I think that what I learned from him is a passion and a commitment and a joy for overall the sport, those who play it and coach it. That's what he always brought to it. That's the fundamental thing I think that he has made his TV career about. Yeah, it's entertaining, but he loves everything about it, the crowds, the environment, the pageantry. He doesn't take himself so seriously. That's a lesson I learned, and I have to relearn that a lot because all of us tend to get in our own head and get wound up and take what we do seriously. You can take your job seriously, but understand that what we're doing is still fun, and it's supposed to be fun for the people watching it. He's taught me so many lessons like that. It's the hangs. It's the time at the promo shoot in the summer. I posted some pictures on Instagram showing Corso doing outrageous things in the course of promoting the show. Some stuff, riding a duck at the pool in USC. I don't know what he was doing. We have no idea what the point of that campaign was. No one can remember. The people who worked it cannot remember somebody might have got high and figured, let's put Corso on a duck in a red and white striped 1920s swimsuit, and that'll be great. That'll really sell the show. I don't know, but he bought into it, committed to it. He did that every summer, and that's just being able to hang with him. As time's gone on, it's been harder and harder to have dinners and that kind of stuff because he has to really conserve his energy for what's important on Saturday mornings. And also, we're in different cities more and more. But I go to Orlando and visit with him in the off season, and the time with him is so precious. And just to be able to learn from him, laugh with him, laugh at him for the last 35 years has been a joy. And his birthday just passed 90. People can't believe he's 90. And I think it's going to be highly emotional for him to be there in the Horseshoe in Columbus on the 30th and do that last show and make that pick and then say goodbye to game day. And I think he's got lots of things to look forward to and other chapters ahead. I want to toast his 100th birthday in 10 years. But in the meantime, it's impossible for me not to reflect on that and, carry on the lessons that he taught.
That's beautiful, man.
Wow.
Well, we will be
Well
celebrating that. We'll celebrate you all season long as well. Thanks, Chris, for your time.
Insight, Chris.
Can't wait. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's good, fellas. Yeah, no, I look forward to being in touch with the season. I love talking ball, so I'll hit you up, Yogi. We'll do that, and it's a pretty damn good first weekend. I mean, we talked about Columbus, talked about the game in Clemson, and then you got FSU and Alabama and all these kind of games. And week 2's not as good, but college football, will get off with a bang, and there's plenty to talk about, and I look forward to the season ahead and connecting with you guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Love it, man. Thanks, brother. Talk to you soon.
You bet.
It's the Afterglow. That was Chris Fowler on the process here at Y Option. That is Rhett Lewis. I'm Yogi Roth. Big love to our founding sponsor, 76, fueling us and fueling you, keeping you on the go so you never miss a beat. With that said, Rhett, your thoughts in the conversation with Mr. Fowler?
I mean, where do we start, right? I mean, there's just the nuggets in that conversation to me. Like I was sitting here taking notes, the whole time, right? And ultimately, that's why we're doing this. It's like, yeah, sure, we want you guys, to feed off this too, and to learn and to be able to, amend your process in a way that's better. But shoot, I find myself doing it with Mark Jackson from episode 1 here with Chris Fowler. A number of times. And the thing that really, really got me amongst a number of things, right? Relaxed intensity. The relaxed intensity of the preparation process for him, especially like on game day, right? Are you spending your time with your nose buried in your charts, right? Because we all love our charts. We all put a lot of time into the charts.
Big chart guy. Yeah.
But what kind of hit me is like the process of making the charts are really what becomes your inner monologue during the game, right? Like how often are you actually looking down, and really searching for that nugget, but because you researched it, you found it, you put it on the chart physically yourself, that it kind of became a piece of your brain, right? Of what comes out on the broadcast. So I thought that was really good. But then the relaxed intensity part, like take a second. If you've done the work, you don't need to cram up the game time. Now, sometimes I do feel like I need to cram up the game time right up to kickoff. Sometimes, when we're in the coffee shop on the day before the game, on the day of the game, I'm like, guys, I could still be doing. I got 2 hours of prep left here. I could still be doing this, So I think, with the nature of the different responsibilities we all have, we do feel the need. We do feel the urge or the idea that there's more we could do. Where I wish I could just do a little bit more. But how about taking a second to sit in the fact that you have done the work, right? And then let's let the work then work for you. I think is kind of something that I really took away from that with that relaxed intensity.
Okay, so let's double down on that, because just to take everybody inside my little setup here, I got a screen over to my right,
Yeah.
and I can watch. It's a Google Doc that Rhett and I share for this show, and I'm seeing like letters being typed into this thing, and I was like, oh yeah, me too. I was like, I wish I could write something, but you share my mind, so we're good in that regard. You wrote it down, I didn't. But I want to know, like, how did that land on you, and like, do you think you can pull it off? Do you pull it off? Like, where does it net out for you? Because I think as a father, husband, professional, on air, like, relaxed intensity is a phrase that can cut through many different areas of life.
Yeah, like I think my wife and my kids would be like, yeah, you've got the intensity part for sure. Check. Honestly, Yogi, I find that I count on you and Guy a lot for the relaxed part of it. Now, really both parts of it, but I feel like you have such the manner of which you approach the game, which is with intensity, but it's also with like a clarity that, man, I love this so much. Like, I know that I'm going to have what I need to get done. Let's go out and let's enjoy the heck out of the game. Like, I love your little notes at the bottom of your chart, right? Which I hope I'm not sharing out of turn here, but are like, this is your dream job, right? You love this. This is, you are doing what so many people, like, these are on the charts, right? Like, smile, like, go back to the open at the, in the second half. But there's also those little pieces of affirmation, I think, like, hey man, you're doing what you love. Remember that, and so, like, you guys help me remember that a lot. And so I thank you for that. Like, that's a big part of my process.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think my wife would say, she'd agree, like, dude, why are you so intense right now on everything? Whether it's like, I just read this thing on parenting, and like, we got to cut it all out.
Change it up.
Or my kid would be like, Dad, like, oh my God. Like, I show him like graphs. I'm like, okay, you see what this can do to your brain? And he's like, oh my God, you're so intense right now. Yeah. So I love that phrase as well. And I think there's something to the cadence, to your point, of the week. And I can remember early in my playing career, I remember being a sophomore. We played at Syracuse, and that week I had like a final exam or something like that. So I didn't get to study like our third down package as much. And I knew it on Friday night at the hotel. And I stayed up till like 3 a.m. studying the third down package. Not a good use of time and energy when you have to go play. So I think what Chris said really resonated with me as a performer in our craft of broadcasting, but also as a parent and as a husband, of like, at some point you have to be confident enough that you have it. Like, I can remember being a young broadcaster, even doing sideline. I remember, like, I'd go on a walk or a run and I'd be rehearsing. I'd say what I wanted to say so tightly, the open of a game, to the point now where, like, I'd rather not know. Like, I know the elements we have to get to, but let's just go. And I think, to Chris's point, like, it does take time to get there. I think you have to be like non-relaxed and intense early on in your career, because you're just trying to survive almost. And then, I watch you on NFL Network, and you're working on Thursday nights, and you're doing, combine, and I'm like, he's so dialed, because I know you so well now that you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
and that's what I too. Yeah, I think the relaxed part to me was like almost like the fun.
Yeah,
the joy of it. Of like, relaxed intensity is also like, dude, let's go cut it loose. Like, you've done the work. Let's let it rip.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, I'm never more relaxed or prepared than when I'm doing the draft, because I've spent the last 4 months doing events that lead up to the draft that allow you to be prepared for it. And so, like, that is fun. Like, to me, that's the relaxed intensity. But yeah, I'm with you. It's just a little more condensed week to week.
Yeah. The one that stood out to me as well, which is just an amazing reflection of who Chris and Kirk Herbstreit are in the craft, is like, it makes sense, like, they're not around each other, because Kirk is calling a Thursday night game and then doing the game day thing with his
reps.
family last year. But then when they get into it, not only do they have 30-year history, but they have an insane amount of trust, right? It's kind of like that old drill where it's like, lean back, will you catch me? And do you trust them to
Trust
catch
fall.
you? The trust fall. Yeah, like those two have such a beautiful trust. And I know, like you and I are coming off our first year together with Guy calling games in the booth at Big Ten Network. And I think that like from the beginning, we were like, all right, I'm going to fall and I know you're going to catch me. And that's at least my interpretation. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Same.
But it was like, yeah, it was like trust immediately versus like, you got to earn it. And I wonder, like, where do you net out on that? Are you like, somebody's got to earn my trust? You're like, hey, I'm going to give it to you until you don't have it.
Well, I think for one, and I'll speak very personally here about our time together. You guys earned it very quickly because I will say, I know you said you guys, I count on you for the relaxed part of it. But the intensity part of it too, going back to our first part of the afterglow here, like you guys inspired a different type of work ethic in me. And so I think through that, I trusted you guys implicitly, like from the moment the Open ran, like long before the moment the Open ran at Autzen Stadium for Idaho, Oregon last year. So I do think there is an element of earning it for sure.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. Let's just love on Corso. Like, do you have a story?
Oh
Here
my
we are
gosh.
in week 1.
Well, the greatest
that
story
stands out.
The greatest story of all time, and I might get some of the details wrong, but this has been told to me by a number of different people, a number of different times when he was the head coach at my alma mater, Indiana. Playing, I think it was Ohio State at the time, heavy underdogs. The Hoosiers went out and scored the first touchdown of the game. Well, sure enough, Corso calls timeout, sends the whole team out onto the field in front of the scoreboard, and they take a team picture with the scoreboard reading Indiana 6, Ohio State nothing, just to simulate that they had actually won, like they had won the game. I don't think they ended up winning that game, but that I think is a picture of who Corso was, like the forever optimist, the guy that was always trying to instill a confidence in people, whether they're on the team or those that follow the team, those that love the team and follow the game. That to me was a beautiful one, and he is so revered in two professions that love one sport, right? The coaching profession, the broadcasting profession, all because of his passion for college football and for the people that are part of it.
Yeah, no, it was really cool last year being at Indiana for game day.
Yeah.
With you, of course,
Yeah.
at your school, and he was there, and just watching it was such a big deal for Coach Corso to be at your university.
Oh my God, it was huge.
It was amazing. Like that is a core memory. I'll never forget watching him walk through the Graduate.
That's right.
And kind of walk through and get into his car and the way they went to game day or came from
practice. It was like a rock star.
It was, yeah. To Fowler's point, like he was the rock star, and he is the rock star in that group. I'll just leave with this on him. I think that in the world we're in now in college football, like when we played, nobody talked media rights. Nobody even knew what they were. Nobody talked about coaching salaries because they weren't a thing. Like it was just, you just coached. That's just what it was. That's what it was when he coached. He coached because he loved to coach. And now it's more of a business. I mean, we can't ignore that element of it. But I think what I've always heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about him, it was always reminding him like, hey, it's entertainment, baby, or whatever he would say to him. And I think that's a really cool reminder for us in television because it is so serious. And a transaction or a trade in the NFL or, a big quarterback or a freshman signee and NIL deals or whatever it might be. But like when we get to the show on a Saturday, hey, it's entertainment, baby. Like it's a blast. Like, we'll have some fun, laugh a little bit, tell a joke, make fun of yourself, whatever it may be. And I think Coach Corso created that. And I hope that tone remains. And I trust that it will.
Well said, brother.
All right. Well, that was a lot of impressive things. Extremely well said from Chris Fowler.
Yeah.
Wishing him and his crew the absolute best. He's got opening weekend of the college football season. It's going to be amazing. Nussmeier, Klubnik, here we go. He's got the U.S. Open in full force. So thank you, Chris, for taking time out of your day for us. Give him a follow on social media. Give Rhett a follow on social media. Make sure you're tracking this show wherever you subscribe to it, yoption.com, YouTube, social platforms. The clips from this episode will be plentiful. Cannot wait to share them with you. Lots of love. Stay safe, stay steady, and happy week 1. Peace.